Moving on to West Asia now, Palestinian militant group Hamas has said that it is ready to discuss new proposals for a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of hostages and Palestinian prisoners. A senior Hamas official, Sami Abu Zuhri, said that the group has accepted a request from mediators to explore new proposals and is open to discuss any deal or idea that could lead to a permanent ceasefire, as well as the withdrawal of the occupation from the entire territory and lift the blockade.
The
movement's delegation confirmed that the movement is open to any agreement or ideas that end the suffering of our people in Gaza and stop the ceasefire once and for all, and lead to the occupation's withdrawal from the entire Gaza Strip, lifting the siege, providing relief and shelter support to our people, rebuilding and reaching a serious deal for the prisoners.
The decision comes after Gaza's civil defense agency said an Israeli airstrike on a residential block in northern Gaza's Beit Lahia killed nearly 100 people on Tuesday. At least 20 children were among the dead. Video footage showed several bodies wrapped in blankets on the ground outside a bombed 4-storied building. More bodies and survivors were being retrieved from under the wreckage. The United States called the Israeli strike horrifying. Washington has asked Israel for answers, expressing deep concern by the loss of civilian life in this incident.
This was a horrifying incident with a horrifying result. I can't speak to the total death toll, but there are reports of 24 children killed in this incident. No doubt a number of them are children who have been fleeing the effects of this war for more than a year now. We have reached out to the government of Israel to ask what happened here. We don't yet know the underlying circumstances. We have not gotten a full explanation from them about what happened. But you step back and look at where we are in this campaign.
The State Department also said it is deeply troubled after Israel's parliament passed 2 laws to prevent the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, from being able to continue its work. In United Nations, the United States slammed Israel for not doing enough to help Palestinians in Gaza. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, said Israel's words must match the actions on ground.
At the same time, the United States has made clear to Prime Minister Netanyahu that 1 year into this conflict, Israel must address the catastrophic humanitarian crisis in Gaza, that the United States rejects any Israeli efforts to starve Palestinians in Jabalia or anywhere else, and that Israel's words must be matched by action on the ground.
The envoy also reiterated the U.S. threat to withhold arms from Israel and warned Israeli Prime Minister that there is no alternative to a UN aid agency in Gaza. She said Netanyahu must address the catastrophic humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Meanwhile, the IDF announced that 4 Israeli soldiers were killed and an officer was seriously injured during fighting in the northern Gaza Strip on Tuesday. The Israeli Defense Forces said that they all served with the elite multi-domain unit, also called the Ghost Unit. They were killed in fighting in the Jabalia area, which has been the focus of the recent IDF offensive in northern Gaza. In other development, the Israeli parliament on Tuesday approved a law banning the establishment of consulates in Jerusalem to rather encourage the establishment of foreign embassies in the city. Since the countries that do not recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital often open smaller consulates in the city and base their embassies in Tel Aviv. So far, only 5 countries, including the United States, have their embassies in Jerusalem. And we asked our correspondent, Jody Cohen, about Israel's stand after Hamas said it is open to permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Here's what she had to say.
Right, so the next round of the Gaza ceasefire and hostage talks are expected this week in Egypt. Hamas has indicated that they're only interested in a full ceasefire that would leave Hamas in power in Gaza, which is not acceptable to Israel. But the latest proposal reportedly comes from Qatar and would involve a month-long truce in exchange for between 11 and 14 of the female and elderly hostages being freed. Meanwhile, Israel has said that Hamas and Hezbollah are being directed by the Iranian regime, and Defense Minister Gallant has said that there's a connection between Israel's strike in Iran and what's now happening with Hezbollah. Now, he suggested that Iran now understands that Hezbollah can't help to defend Iran, and that Hezbollah understands that it can't now rely on Iran. And there have been reports of a possible diplomatic solution emerging on that front.